Homelessness. It is a problem. It is. I always like to use an abundance of candor on this topic, and just acknowledge the fact that people, nice, sensitive, kind, caring people, do care about the well-being of people living on the streets. But realistically, at the same time, they present. I'm sorry, I hate to say it because they're human beings, but they present a bit of an eyesore in a community, and they also, I think, shake the confidence of people in terms of the health and safety of an area. It's typically the number one concern of Californians when they're polled, if not number one, very, very close number two. And so it is an ongoing problem that the state of California, the cities and the counties within the state of California have dumped enormous amounts of taxpayers' money in. And I think to an extraordinary degree have used that as a means by which to measure success or gauge success, notwithstanding the fact the problem has clearly gotten worse in spite of the money that has been spent. Sherman Haggerty is a man who's got a great experience because he actually was very successful in, of all industries, the home building industry. And he can apply that his personal and professional life experience in business to helping to find solutions to the homelessness problem. He took that effort, and he took it in conjunction with Volunteers of America and worked at Mather campus for a period of time and really, truly engaged in the process of trying to resolve homelessness, and has since written a book, Hope Disappearing. It's an extraordinary read. I've read every word of it, and I've endorsed the book, and I'm very happy to have Mr. Haggerty join us this afternoon. Sherman, good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the conversation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on, John.
You bet. What do you give us? Just a kind of an overall assessment of what you've seen in your time, and I do think it's your experience is probably like no other because you had such a successful run in creating a product that people wanted. There was a demand for it, and you used all your resources and intellect to resolve problems in that industry. And now you look at this and you try to bring that same common sense and energy. And where do you think things need to change?
So, John, if I could take 2 or 3 minutes just to tell you why I wrote this book, I think I can answer that question. As you know, I'm of retirement age. I'm not going to tell you how old I am. But I did have a nice career in home building with 2 corporate national home building companies for 35 years. And during that period, I served on the board of Volunteers of America, like you did. And while I was on the board of Volunteers of America, I became familiar with this Mather program. And when I retired from home building, I felt like I could use some of the contacts that I had in the community to increase employment opportunities for that program out there, because that's what they were doing. They were rehabilitating people and putting them back to work. So I initially went out there and took a position as director. And the first 3 months that I was out there, I didn't know a whole lot more about the homeless population intimately than most people do. But for the first 3 months I was out there, I interviewed every new person that was coming into the program, and I was devastated by the stories, John. The child abuse, the substance abuse, the crime, the prison, the broken families, the domestic abuse. I actually came home to my wife one day and said, I don't know if I'm tough enough to do this job. Fast forward the end of my first year, and these same people that I'd interviewed were beginning to flourish in this system and were barely recognizable from the people I had interviewed 9 months before.
Right.
Most of them went on to get jobs and move into market rate housing. And over a period, I actually gave VOA a 2-year commitment to do that job and ended up staying 6 years until it was closed down for lack of funding. And it was just a real eye-opener for me. And, one of the things we realized was there wasn't another program in the state of California that did that kind of work.
Right.
And we had a hard time finding programs anywhere across the United States that really did that kind of comprehensive work. But it was very fiscally responsible. I think we spent somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 on each individual to get them through the program, get them a job, and get them into housing. Now it's costing, $100,000, $125,000 per person to maintain the population on the street, and our clients paid all that back in taxes, payroll taxes, real estate taxes, sales taxes. After 4 years, all the money that they that we gave them to get through the program, they put back into the market.
Yeah, and they thrived in many cases.
So the ROI was terrific. And the other point that I think people miss is for a lot of people that stopped generational poverty that was in their family.
Yeah. So,
and there's just nothing like that in our marketplace at this particular point. And, rehabilitating existing homeless people may not end the problem, but we can certainly reduce the scope of the population, and they respond very well to it, and it's fiscally responsible, and there's just nothing as comprehensive as that program in place right now. And it was saddening to us who work there to see that opportunity disappear in the marketplace. So, we're hoping we can reconstruct some elements of that kind of program back into homeless services. There's a group of people working on that. We're trying to be optimistic about that. We still have to work on figuring out, how do we close the front door?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're familiar with all the issues that are
absolutely
at work there. But, while that's going on, I think we can do a much better job with our existing population and create some wonderful success stories. And the thing about Mather, and I'll shut up here after a second, but the thing about Mather, when we were successful putting people back to work, we had the absolute support of the entire community. Businesses donated goods. They came out and volunteered services. They repainted the campus. They did whatever they could to help because they were proud to be a part of something like that. That's all gone now. So,
well, at your urging, I perused the City of Sacramento's plan. I don't know if I can go so far as to call it a plan with a straight face. It throws out some possibilities without any specificity, no real substance to the report. I hate to be so critical, but that's the way I read it. What could you do with this, with the resources that look as though they're coming this way? What message would you like to get to the policymakers in terms of what can be done? I know the history, the experience that really truly changed lives for some people. And again, I think it's important to be honest. There are the human beings that are living in this lifestyle. It is not good. It is not healthy. They're not really truly reaping the benefits of what we have here potentially. But at the same time, they are a negative element in society that has an adverse impact on commerce and quality of life and everything else. So there's something, I think, for everybody in terms of motivation to get this problem resolved. What simple message might you have in that regard?
Well, and I think that I don't really think anybody's lacking motivation. And before I pick on our local government, it was actually Sacramento County who developed the Mather campus program,
right.
And that group of county employees was so far ahead of their time when they did it. It was really a remarkable effort, and that's what we're going to need again. We're going to need a fair amount of ingenuity, and we're going to need to try to understand how we take the resources that are available now, because they've changed, and that's one of the problems. The federal policy, particularly HUD, reduced the funding for the kind of services that we used to provide at Mather in favor of more housing units, and left the community scrambling to find replacement dollars to have those services in place. I mean, it's specifically what closed transitional housing programs. Having said that, there appears to be a whole new flood of money coming in, so I don't think money is going to be the issue. Right. The issue is going to be, how do we coordinate the efforts to put responsible programming back in place. One of the elements out there that's still a problem, in my opinion, John, this is just my opinion, is there's no real sense of urgency to get the alcohol and drug substance abuse under control as part of any structured programming. And I think without that, it's a long road. I
agree 100%. I noticed in your book, once again, Hope Disappearing, A Population Left Behind, you point that out, that the common denominator is substance abuse. And the motives for that, I think, come from all directions. As I threw out in a conversation with you earlier, there's a bit of a chicken or the egg syndrome, because you don't know whether they went to that because they were experiencing mental health issues that they couldn't resolve otherwise, or felt as though they couldn't, or if that was what brought them to a position of diminished mental health. But it is, I think, an undeniable, and your data seems to support that, component of this that needs to be resolved. So let me ask you this. Where can people go to find the book?
So it's on Amazon right now, and just listed as a pre-release. So it'll be on Amazon. It'll also be in Barnes & Noble, and it'll be available through ebooks. And it's supposed to be available beginning November 9th.
Again, the name is Hope Disappearing, A Population Left Behind by Sherman Haggerty. And I personally attest to the quality of the book. I think it represents honesty, very, very thoughtful observations, and steps towards a legitimate solution to a challenge that's plaguing our society, regrettably, with increasing numbers every year. And it seems as though the evidence of that is abundantly obvious. So I hope that people who have a passion for this, a concern for this, will pick it up and read it, take advantage of it, and we'll get this up on the website here too. Sherman Haggerty, appreciate your time very much, sir. Great to chat with you, and we'll have you back on again.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.